In this video, we are going to give you our top 5 picks for campgrounds that you absolutely must see, so stay tuned.
We are Charity, Ben, Dakota, and Trinity. We decided we didn't want to wait for a life of adventure, so in 2017, we bought our first RV and set off to live a life of travel in the USA. We've visited over 38 states in 3 years and have many more to go. Follow along to learn all the best places to see, RV and travel tips, and much more.
So over the past 4 years of living RV life, we have stayed at dozens and dozens of campgrounds from the East Coast to the West Coast. And of course, there are always those campgrounds that we walk away from and say, that was one of the best campgrounds that we have ever stayed at. So in this video, we're gonna let you know which ones that those have been over the last 12 months for us. And the reason that we're bringing this video to you now is so that you can start doing some trip planning and making some reservations for some of these campgrounds that will book up fast. So you want to get on that now. And speaking of which, we have a great resource for them, don't we, Ben?
Charity put together an amazing trip planning guide that you can access over at gratefulglamper.com/planner. And best of all, it's free.
Free. This is the exact same template that I've developed and use for all of our trip planning, and we wanted to make it available to all of you so you can download that for free to start planning your trips this summer. So let's jump right in and talk about some of our most favorite campgrounds. And so number 1 on the list is actually a campground that when we asked our kids what their favorite campground was from the last 12 months, this was right at the top of their list. So Gouldings Campground, which is right outside of the Monument Valley area of Utah. And we love this campground for the views. You really almost felt like that you were in that Disney movie Cars with just all of like the red rock formations that surrounded the campground. You can actually take a hike right from the campground. You don't even need to leave the campground. There's hiking trails right there. They even have like their own private little arch right there at the campground. And it's just an absolutely amazing place. Lots of stray animals, but don't let that like be worrisome. That's just kind of typical for a lot of the Navajo people that let their animals roam. So it's not that they are wild strays. They belong to somebody. They just happen to kind of have free reign.
And we actually went during the pandemic and we pretty much had the campground to ourselves. This was a campground, and as you can see, it's pretty much empty. Now, one thing that you might want to note that if you do go to Gouldings Campground is that there really is going to be no internet. So just be aware of that and you'll be okay.
Just plan for being unplugged for a few days. They do have Wi-Fi. It's not really the best. So again, just kind of plan on being out of pocket during your stay, which is always a welcome break.
If you go to Monument Valley, there's plenty to see. You've got Forrest Gump Hill, which is the iconic scene from the movie Forrest Gump, Mexican Hat.
There's lots of off-road trails too. So plenty to just kind of do and see on an outdoors level if you choose to visit Monument Valley, and I highly recommend that every RVer put that on their list at some point in their RV journey.
Number 2, Disney's Fort Wilderness. This is probably the most fun campground on planet Earth.
One of the reasons we love Fort Wilderness is because it is like the full-on Disney experience. Anything Disney does is just over the top on the experiential side. So you feel like you're in the woods. All of the shops and things like that really have that kind of old-time Western feel. All of the cast members that are working in the stores are in that typical kind of frontier type dress. It's just very much an authentic feeling of being at some fort in the wilderness, even though you're in Florida. So it's a very, very cool experience.
There's a few things that you need to know before you go. One is that you're going to want to book in advance.
Way in advance.
You know, during the time that we're in right now, it's a little harder to get a campground reservation anyways, so you probably are already aware of booking in advance.
Especially during around peak times for Fort Wilderness, which is like Christmas and Halloween, because people decorate their sites to the nines. You really need to book that way in advance to be able to even get in during those times. The other thing to know is it is not the cheapest campground you're going to ever stay at, but you are paying for that kind of Disney experience. So we feel like it's something that every RVer should do at least once in their RV journey.
There's actually plenty of things to do in Fort Wilderness. So you can actually rent a golf cart on site or off site. Actually, we prefer off site. And you can drive around to see everything that there is. If you go on Halloween and Christmas time, there's all sorts of fun activities to check out. And they have ferries that take you to Disney as well.
There's plenty to do within Fort Wilderness. You don't even hardly have to leave the campground, but plenty of options of just things to see right there at the campground because it's so huge. And you can ride bikes if maybe a golf cart isn't your thing. You can ride bikes around the campground too. Huge, huge campground, and we just love it. So number 3 is the Pacific Dunes RV Ranch, which is actually in Oceano, California. Now, we love this place because of the dunes that are right there. This is actually a park that's within the Thousand Trails system. So if you're a Thousand Trails member, check into it. I think it's an Encore park. We're not Thousand Trails members, so I don't have all of the scoop on like how that whole thing works and which ones. That's a whole nother video for another time. But needless to say, if you are a Thousand Trails member, you can check that out to see if you can stay there for free. Now, side note, you can still stay at a Thousand Trails park without being a Thousand Trails member. We've stayed at many Thousand Trails parks. We're not members, and you just pay their going rate. However, here is an inside tip. Sign up for the Thousand Trails email list, and I get emails with discount codes frequently. So you can get a discount code when you make your reservation by using whatever code that they send in the email.
So something to know before you go. Now, the campground isn't anything to write home about. It's not a very high-class resort or anything like that. I mean, it is within the Thousand Trails system, so you're not really going to expect any resort-type campgrounds. But outside of the campground is really where it's at, because it seems like every day the kids wanted to go out to the sand dunes because they wanted to hike the sand dunes and run and jump off the side of the hill and roll down the sand and slide down the sand. You can actually even hike down to a private beach there, which is I think about like a mile hike.
It was a 3/4 mile hike one way, so it was 1.5 miles through very deep sand. If you are in shape, that's a fun hike. If you have any sort of physical limitations, probably not on the list. So if you do choose to go to Pacific Dunes, a couple of things that you want to do while you're in the area. Pismo Beach is just a short 10-minute drive, and there's plenty to do in that area. There's a beautiful pier. Santa Cruz is a 30-minute drive just north. And then if you do go down to Pismo, make sure that you get some cinnamon rolls from Old West Cinnamon Rolls. Now,
those are good.
This isn't sponsored in any way, but I'll put a link below because we think they were just that good.
Yep. So if you're hiking the sand dunes, you might want to go get a roll after that to replenish your calories.
So as we're going through this list of campgrounds, you're gonna have to let us know in the comments, maybe what are some of the best campgrounds that you've ever stayed at? And then we'll kind of have to compare notes and see what other campgrounds that we definitely need to check out.
Number 4 is Watchman Campground at Zion National Park. Why do we love it? The first thing is the views are incredible, and there's quite a bit to do around the area. There's the Narrows that you can go hike. There's a lot to do even around the campground. So the kids and I took our bikes around the campground quite a bit. We even got in the water. There's a creek running through the campground that we played in.
So something to know if you go, number 1, you've got to make those reservations in advance. Number 2, there is no full hookups at this particular campground. It's only water and electric. There is a dump station, so make sure that you're emptied out before that you set up, because you're gonna need to use just the water and electric. And the other thing to know is that we've got a 40-foot motorhome and we fit. But it was a little bit tight because we also needed to put our Jeep on our site. So they can accommodate longer length rigs, but it could be just a little bit of a tight fit. So that's something important to know if you've got a longer rig. What to see and where to go in the area is pretty self-explanatory. Just hiking, you can even take a scenic drive. If hiking isn't something that's within your physical ability, the views are amazing. And the Narrows is really a bucket list hike for many people. We did do it with our 2 kids. So it is something that can be done with children if maybe they're just a little bit older. Definitely wouldn't do it with a toddler, but if you've got elementary age kids or older, you can definitely hike the Narrows while you're there with your kids, and it's definitely a fun thing to do and a must do while you're living the RV life.
Little pro tip, definitely rent some of the shoes at the local outfitters in the area, because it'll just make your experience a lot better walking over all the big boulders and stuff. So,
we were all hiking in Keen sandals.
yeah,
I wouldn't do that again.
more difficult.
We definitely get the nice sturdy boots and neoprene socks and a walking stick. So
Yes.
if you go, definitely make sure that you take advantage of that. You'll just have a better experience.
Number 5 is Ramblers Rest.
Now, this campground is located in the Venice, Florida area. And we fell in love with this campground when we went just a matter of a couple of weeks ago for several different reasons. But something to know if you go is that this is another park that is within the 1,000 Trails system. So if you are a 1,000 Trails member, that would be something that would be to your advantage. And again, we stayed there. We're not 1,000 Trails members, but I got another discount code in my email for our stay, so we were able to stay at a discounted rate. There are a lot of snowbirds that are there during the winter. There are a lot of kind of like tiny home type setups where there are a lot of people that come and stay there during the winter months. And then they go back to their homes, which are in the more northern part of the US hemisphere during the summer months. But we just love that particular atmosphere. The kids actually commented that they probably felt the safest at this campground out of any campground we've stayed at. And it's not like we stay at sketchy places, but just the atmosphere of this particular campground with a little bit of a more mature demographic really just kind of made our kids feel very, very safe there.
Yeah, they're super friendly and great with the kids. So they have a dog park. They've got a swimming pool. They've got all kinds of different activities, a playground, tennis, a hot tub. This campground really impressed me.
It's definitely more of an RV resort type of campground versus your no frills type of campground.
Now, one thing to note though, if you do go here, if Wi-Fi is important to you or mobile wireless is something you need, you're not going to get very good service at this campground or anywhere in this area.
It just seemed the whole Venice area of Florida didn't have the best cell service. So just something to know before you go. So if you do choose to visit Ramblers Rest or even just the Venice, Florida area, some things that you absolutely must take advantage of is run down to Casperson Beach. Now, this is the shark tooth capital of the world for fossilized shark teeth. Now, when we went, the weather wasn't cooperating. We didn't have a ton of time to be sifting through the shells that you want to sift through to find shark teeth, but we still found 5 of them. And we didn't have a ton of time, and we were there at totally the wrong time of the day. You want to go at lower tide versus higher tide. So we have talked to other RV families that have found dozens and dozens during their visits because they hit the timing correctly and they had more time than what we had. It's also very close to the Sarasota area, so there's tons to do there. Siesta Beach, it's rated the #1 beach in the USA. That's a must-see if you're living the RV life. So make sure that you put this campground on your list of places that you want to visit, or just even that whole area of the Gulf Coast of Florida on your list of places to go while you're living RV life. Sing on! Hello?
And if you'd love to support us, oh, gross. Yuck.
Thanks for watching. Thanks so much for watching. No, seriously, come on, we gotta end this video, okay. So thanks so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you on the road. Why didn't you not? Okay, come on,
Okay,
seriously.
Thanks for watching. Blah.
One of us can say it.
All right. Really, dog?
Eggs, it can be, really?
We'd absolutely love to know what. So let us know if you've stayed at any of these 5 campgrounds and what your thoughts were. Or let us know what your top campground is. I'd actually love to know that.
A lot of the campgrounds that we've stayed at, like for example, Gouldings, I had no idea existed until I saw it in another RV family's YouTube video. So we love to be able to see other campgrounds from other RVers. We'd really appreciate it if you leave us a comment below and just let us know what are some of the must-see places or some of the best campgrounds that you've ever stayed at, because we'd love to add them to our list and just let others in the community know as well.
And we'd love it if you would give us a thumbs up if we provided any value. That definitely helps YouTube get this out to more people. Also hit the subscribe button and tap that little bell. That way YouTube will send you a notification on your phone or email when we upload a new video.
If you know other people that are wanting to make travel plans this year, make sure that you share this with them. You can just give them a good idea of some places to see that are still within the United States this year, since international travel is still a ways out there.
And if you'd like to support us and keep these videos coming, you can do so on gratefulglamper.com/Patreon. Also, we set up a Discord channel, guys. So if you go to gratefulglamper.com/Discord, you can chat with other RVers for free.
Thanks so much for watching, and until next time,
We'll see you on the road.